Yo, yo, yo. Hold up. Let me see something. What's up, late Pyramid man? How you doing, y'all? So we here today to talk about ODEN. We basically trying to discuss like whether ODEN is doing it right. We low key have like two sides of the community up in here right now. We have Cat, who is like very disliking of One Piece right now, and we also have Raph. I don't know how he feels about what's going on in the story, but I know that the man really f's with One Piece. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Uh, so, first of all, I have to say, right, for me personally, I love the story of One Piece, man. I grew up on it, so I have a different level of attachment to most. Like I started this journey back in like 2003, I want to say. So it's been a minute, right? It's been a minute, and I have to say, while I understand some of the criticism that Oda's been getting recently, and much of it is valid, I at the same time I understand where he's coming from, and at the end of the day, I still appreciate the story he puts out.
I feel you. So you don't feel
Yeah.
like compared to like other backstories, this one is like lackluster.
Uh, I, bro, I don't know, man. Yo, Kat, go first. Give your take on this before I go in.
Well, yeah, it's definitely lackluster. Um, I don't even know where to start. For me, to be completely honest, this flashback has, for the most part, really not lived up to the expectations that um, it felt as though we had been given. Um, I just I feel like what the flashback needed to do, it hasn't accomplished by and large. Um, you know, I guess it all comes down to personal, uh, opinion and perspective and all that. But for me, I was hoping this flashback would finally give me something that could make me more attached to the scabbards and the characters we've been introduced to as of Wano. And to be completely honest, it has not done that at all for me. Um, I still feel like they're nobodies. I still feel like they don't really bring much to the table.
Are you talking about the scabbards?
Yeah, the scabbards. They just they feel like they're just there, and
Yeah, I don't really care about their fates. Yeah,
exactly. That's how I feel. Like it's as if they were to, potentially die next chapter, it would suck, but I would really not feel anything personally towards that. Um,
I have to say, for me personally, I have to 100% agree with you when it comes to the scabbards. I felt like you said, right? Um, Everything leading up into the backstory was basically to make us understand why these people were ready to brave the storm, even though nothing seems to be going according to plan. Because that was the last thing we got from the present time, right? Before going into the backstory of Odin is the scabbards getting ready to risk their lives to go to Onigashima, even though they don't have all the boats and the men that they're supposed to have at the harbor.
hmm.
And so, with that being the last uh, scene that we see from the present going into the past, I was expecting it to be on a level where, okay, now I really understand why these guys are so dedicated, and part of me, I still get the feeling that I understand a little bit more why they're so dedicated, because you think from the perspective of individuals like Nekomamushi, for example, or Inuarashi and Kawamatsu, where they were discriminated against, right? And Oden had to step in and teach the people to not shun those who look different, right? And to accept them for who they are versus what they look like and all that stuff. I feel like we still got all the elements of why the Scabbards would be as dedicated as they are to Odin. But going back to that little conversation we were having earlier, Kat, it's just that Oda hasn't fleshed out. Like back in the day, that's something he probably would do, and we would complain, but we'll still enjoy it at the end of the day because it's just part of how he tells his story, right? But he hasn't done this where he could easily spend 2 chapters on each scabbard. But he hasn't done that because his focus was we need to understand the role that Odin played within the context of Wano, but also within the context of the the overarching story, right? The overarching plot.
Right.
So for me, I'm kind of middle of the road with the criticism that we still don't really care about the scabbards, because part of me understands it because it still feels like I don't, kind of like the same way some people were sad when Pedro died. I didn't feel nothing because I felt like
Mm.
we didn't get that level of build up and attachment. At the same time, I was just like with the scabbards, like yeah, I understand where they're coming from. I mean, Odin was carrying him on his back, both figuratively and literally. So, you know, I understand why they're so dedicated to his cause and what he's trying to do. But at the end of the day, I could care less about them because Odin just outshone all of them. Like the dude is he's a Chad amongst Chads, man. That's that's the main takeaway for me for the
I think King Alani calls him Chad in or something. But
Chad Den. It's Chad Den, my guy. Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, oh, what you gotta say?
who?
You got.
It's not that I don't appreciate getting more background as to why they're so dedicated to Odin's cause. My whole thing is, am I really expected to believe that the Scabbards think they're ready to take Kaido down? I mean, actually defeat him and his crew? Because, I'm sorry, but aside from Ashura Doji, none of them have been impressive at all. Especially not anywhere near the level necessary to take on. I mean,
I mean, Kaido's crew did kind of have. They did kind of get a drop on him.
Kaido's just he and his calamities are just way too strong for them.
No, I mean
Like,
like getting a drop on him as in like Odin was like slicing him up, and then Kaido had you know,
yeah, yeah, and
and then he used that distraction for like everyone.
one thing I do want to comment on though is what Raph said about Pedro. The difference with Kanemon, however, is that unlike Pedro, we've been traveling with him for at least a couple of arcs. So while I personally wouldn't feel upset if something happened to Kanemon, which let's it's pretty much guaranteed not to happen. The difference is Pedro more so. I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but we really didn't have a chance to connect with him at all. Whereas with Kanemon, he was there at Dressrosa. We met him in Punk Hazard, and now he's here in Wano. So I could at least understand people being upset by Kanemon's death if it was to happen. Whereas with Pedro, he wasn't there long enough, at least not to me. Um, that said, I just, as I said, have a hard time believing that Kanemon and his group really believe that they can take Kaido down. Like actually,
I think too. The problem with like a lot of deaths in One Piece is that is an idea in the back of my head is that this is pale, and so with Pedro, I'm kind of like in a sense where he's probably not gonna come back. My mind has a slight like sense that it's possible that he will come back, so I can't really feel the full impact of his death. But I mean, I feel like with Odin's death, I should have felt a lot more. Like it really was like, wow, this dude is beastly. You know, this is why he was twerking in the streets. You know, for 5 years. I feel him, but at the same time, I don't know. It just weird. I just didn't feel much. Like I feel like I should have. Maybe it's a manga and it doesn't. Maybe in the anime it would hit harder or something. But
yeah, that's
what you
true.
wait, Raph? What century are you in? I can't. You like far away. Raph, I can't hear you. Like you underwater.
He went to Wano to help out.
Yeah, hold on. Yo,
Yeah, dude.
what happened? You was in, bro. You was in Blackbeard's black
What
hole,
happened?
bro.
Wait, what? What?
You was in Blackbeard's black hole.
We were about to send the rescue party out.
You was on the moon with NL, bro.
Oh, my bad. I don't know what happened, but
he was talking through a tube. But go ahead.
oh no, I think Kat was saying something, right? Let me just yeah.
No, it sounded like he was talking, and then we couldn't like understand you because it sounded far away.
Ah, okay.
But
Yeah, no,
basically,
like yeah. Go ahead.
no. I was just saying, basically, you didn't hear all of it. Basically, we was talking about how like I feel like I should have felt more for Odin's death, but for some reason I didn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of way, which is strange because it's just I feel like I should have had that because with Odin's character, even though we only got him in a flashback, the way he was handled and the way he's written definitely had more of an impact on me than it did with somebody like Pedro or honestly even Ace. I mean,
Dang.
that's going to be considered blasphemy by the community, but while it was rough, because we were seeing Luffy deal with the loss of Ace, personally, when it comes to Ace's death, that aspect didn't really affect me. But Odin, I was expecting to just be completely furious seeing that happen when he actually did die, or you know. But honestly, my only thoughts were, wait, that's it, that's how he died, like really. Um, I felt I felt kind of disappointed in it, which is kind of weird because to say you're disappointed in a death that's gonna make you feel something is kind of an odd way to look at it. But yeah, I feel like I was expecting a lot more.
You
Not
was
not
expecting kind of like of a Razu is safe. Like it wasn't nothing that happened that wasn't something that was like obvious.
I guess I was just expecting him to literally, because of the heat getting to him, I was expecting him to just say his last words and then basically pass out um due to the heat and then fall into it. That's what I was expecting to happen. And
I feel like that would have
instead,
been better than him dying from a bullet. Cause I was
yeah,
asking my boy Vulture that, He's like someone in the community. He's like grinding and stuff like that. But basically, I was like, how did he die from a bullet while he was withstanding like who knows untold amounts of heat temperature for like an hour. Like how did he die from a bullet? And some
I
people are
think the
saying that he was
understanding,
weakened and all that, but at the same time, it was like what?
yeah, because you have to understand, he survived for an hour, something that would have killed most people within seconds. So the amount of strain his body was under, he basically went past his limit by the time, like he like even if he had stepped out of that, he was basically worthless at that point. Like when you look at it from the perspective of what he went through, I mean, yes, he's shot then, but at the end of the day, he's still human, right? So to me,
Yeah,
it
but
makes sense that he became that weak.
the question is too: did he use arm hockey?
That's the honestly, there's so many things that happen with Odin where I was like, well, if you use armor haki, wouldn't you be able to, um, bypass certain things? Because even something like when Semimaru put up that barrier to protect Orochi, right? Normally, if the way he's able to use his sword and the way he was able to wound Kaido, my understanding is he probably knew that advanced level of armor and haki, right? And when we understand the concept of it, you can penetrate things, which means he could have penetrated that barrier too. Like there's so many aspects to Oden and his fighting ability that are like inconsistent with his portrayal that made me, a little bit upset at times. And even with the whole thing in the boiling oil, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like wouldn't he be able to use his haki to, like, to protect himself and make sure he doesn't uh, you know, get completely destroyed. But my thing is, and I keep saying this,
But you know what would be kind of
and
cool though? Oh my bad.
what?
I was about to say
No,
what would be kind of cool is like if he didn't have hockey and he just gotten that far in the world and he's really just that strong without needing hockey.
I
you know
mean,
somebody who's like that?
You said what?
I mean,
There's somebody like that.
Who?
Apparently, Nekomamushi doesn't really have haki from what I've learned, which is kind of crazy to think about. But
the problem with that, however, regarding Odin, is that know he can use hockey as we've seen him use it. So that would that would be a ridiculous retcon if
Oh, I
that was
forgot he used hockey. Yeah, I forgot.
yeah, no, but yeah, he's been shown to use haki. So, but my thing, right? When it comes to expectations, I keep telling people that, and I keep saying it again. We need to stop having, because I feel like anytime you have an image of how something should go, if it doesn't go that way, most of the time you'll be disappointed. Unless the author is somehow able to do something that is so just marvelous, 10 out of 10, magnificent, that even though it's not what you had in mind, you still think, okay, you know what, this is too legit, like, I can't hate. Because people keep doing
Yeah,
this, especially with One
yeah,
Piece, because the story is so broad that people make so many speculations and theories, right? And I keep telling people, like, no matter how nice an idea sounds to you, or no matter how well put together a theory is, you need to remember, right? At the end of the day, it's still a theory. All the rest of the story has a different, goal in mind for how he wants the story to go. So let me just take a stupid example because I love it. Remember after Zoro fought Mr. One and he won, and Mr. One was like, "Oh, what are you gonna cut next, Diamond?" People ran with that and they said, "Oh yeah, Shiryu is going to somehow get a hold of the diamond fruit. And he's gonna be Diamond." Like every time I hear it, I'll tell people, uh, "Okay, that sounds nice." But like it's just theory, so don't run with it. And people will shut me down. They're like, nah, this is factual. This is gonna happen. Imagine my joy when I saw this man had the invisibility devil fruit. I was like, see, this is how you disappoint yourself. Like there was nowhere was it ever hinted at clearly that that's what was going to happen, but you put it in your head. that, oh, that's how it should go. And if it doesn't go that way, then it's trash. I'm like, you can't blame Oda for not reading your mind and wanting, like, putting things the way you want. And I feel like because we get chapters every week, One Piece is so susceptible to that, where we don't have the full story already fleshed out yet. So it gives people time to really have those really elaborated, theories and ideas, and then say, okay, if the story doesn't go that way, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, but who are you to say that?
Why the word ain't coming out? I do feel that that is part of the fan base. For me personally, I don't feel like um every one of my theories has to come real. I just want it to be creative, and I just want it to be well written. You know.
Yeah, I agree. And even that, right? To some extent is subjective, but at the same time, it's like it's one thing if you're saying something is objectively written poorly. It's another thing when you're upset because something didn't go exactly the way you had in mind. Like I feel like with all the content we keep getting nowadays, you need to be able to make the distinction, right? Because like for me, Odin's death was epic as fuck. I saw that and I was like, wow.
It was
And
really
the
cool.
fin
It was really
yeah, with the smile on his face, like he had the energy of the D. Like I was like, dude, I mess with this on such a deep level because it's the culmination of his life. And he died proper, honestly. I prefer that to him dying just from the heat of the thing. I feel like that would have been, I don't know, for me personally, it would have been a bit lackluster. Like I honestly, going to this chapter 972, I had no expectations. Like I was really wondering how Oda was going to make this man's death look, just because we know that he was boiled alive, right, or so to speak. But this man carried his scabbards on his back, stood his ground, never flinched, like, and he did that kabuki pose before getting shot. I was like, wow. And the whole crowd finishing what he said.
Oh yeah, I gotta roast that crowd after you get done.
The what?
I said I gotta roast that crowd after you get done.
What?
I want to get on that crowd's ass. So you telling me, like, fuck that entire crowd? You telling me that's why I like that they got on him, and I'm like, man, Odin, you being too soft for Odin, you being too soft of him because they switched up so fast. It was like hilarious. I'm like, really? They was talking shit. They like,
I
haha, we
know.
can't wait to see you
Yo,
ball, huh?
Kinemon was on that vibe too, just like you. He's like, oh, so now y'all care, huh? Fuck out of here.
Man, fuck you. I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's how
man.
they are. People are
they
hypocrites.
they were some hoes though, for real. Like they was
Yeah.
like, haha, we gonna watch this guy boil to death. Like, yeah, this is
It would be that
exciting.
way.
Oh
Yeah.
no, then
And
he's
and
gonna
then you see
die.
with that, freaking Shinobu's character got redeemed on such a level, bro. Like I can't tell you how many people, came through with the switch up, talking about, oh yeah, no, sorry. I take back my disrespect on Shinobu because, she's the whole reason why they were able to recognize what um Odin was doing for them. So, it's just a damn shame that she had to turn out the way she did. She
I
was so
mean, looks
bad
looks
back in the
ain't
day.
everything, bro. Looks ain't everything, man.
Oh, I know, I know.
I'm valuing her character, like her as a
Oh,
character.
dude,
And plus, to
her
be honest,
character.
I'm kind of tired of these chicks all looking like Nami. Like all these chicks look like Nami. If you notice, like, can we have some unique characters? Like the thing, like, did you see the scene in the anime when she was giving Sanji the sloppy toppy?
Oh, dude, yeah, I saw that. Of course, who didn't see that?
gonna find that
Everybody
picture. I'm
saw
gonna
that.
post it, but yeah, for the people in the stream
The
watching the stream,
sloppy
cause
top.
yeah, she was giving
Yeah.
Sanjay that sloppy top, and I was like, she low key thick though, like. She ugly in the face, but like like she low key. She
Oh
got more
yeah,
cake.
she'll probably give you a mean one.
She
Yeah,
got more cake than any girl in One Piece, bruh, who's not just overly fat for no reason.
that's true. She's no big mom.
But she got cake, man. Like she got cake, and that's more could be said than like all these One Piece
And the way she
chicks.
keeps talking about like the wonders of a mature woman, like, oh, okay, all right.
Hey, them fat chicks be getting sloppy toppy though, man. she got and then she got something to prove, but nah. I
She
mean seriously
does.
though,
Yeah.
but yeah, Shinobu is it'd be cool with some more interesting. And that's a different topic. But it'd be cool with some more interesting like One Piece female designs, but like they all just look like Nami, bro.
You know the thing that's so disappointing is that um what you call it, Oda can do it. He's got he's got the potential to do it, like to design female characters to look different. But I don't know why he doesn't do it. I think he probably doesn't see the need to do it. Like some of them, you can tell they have some features that make them that set them apart. Like even what you call it, which Hiyori. Like she has features. Like she has some particular facial features that help distinguish her a little bit. Like even the whole shape of her face and everything.
Hmm.
He has that. We know Robin. You know, Robin and Hancock for some reason they really stand apart. Like they're some of the few females in One Piece. When you look at them, you can tell. Okay,
Yeah, who they
they're
are.
yeah. Like Rebecca, I promise you, in the manga, there were times where I thought that was Nami because she
I think Rebecca's like 16 though, anyways. But yeah. Huh?
was still.
But yeah. Back on Odin, I think like the best part of this flashback was obviously Whitebeard and Roger. Um, even though them parts of the flashback were like it didn't really give us like much any new info. I feel like the only thing that really surprised me in this flashback was the whole thing with Blackbeard not sleeping. But I feel like I do the joy that Oda let us see like the journey of like the two, but at the same time it wasn't really nothing truly new. No really info to
Mm,
talk about there.
I mean, it was clarification
Yeah, like I said, it
for
was cool to see because like I wanted to see that journey. You know, I do,
well,
I do
see
maybe, I do think maybe we do get more aspects of their characters now. I think about like how he don't just instantly just add like Whitebeard don't just instantly just add anybody to this crew just because they're strong. You know.
well we kind of suspected that though, or I would think we did. But something I do want to mention because I was seeing this in the comment sections on One Piece related videos for a long time. After the point in Whole Cake Island when I believe it was Big Mom or somebody who stated that Roger had snuck around Whole Cake Island, there were people who were under the impression that Roger's strength was greatly exaggerated. So, seeing the clarification that no, he isn't just hyped up, he actually was that powerful in the Odin flashback, I think was definitely needed because it finally showed that no, he wasn't just it wasn't just all talk or just a legend. He actually did live up to the legend. So that bit I think was definitely good to actually see, just to kind of put to bed that idea that people had saying that maybe Roger was just a hoax and wasn't actually, strong because he had to sneak around Big Mom's territory. So it was really nice to see that he actually was on Whitebeard's level, at least.
I think
Yeah,
he's stronger than Whitebeard, but yeah.
Well, yeah, he probably is, but that's why I said at least, because until we actually see Roger fight, if we do, it's still kind of difficult to say until we see everything he can do. I mean, um, I mean, but there was something I wanted to, if you wouldn't mind, it's kind of dialing back a little bit regarding what Wrath had said regarding expectations and how the story ends up actually being told. You're right. I won't disagree with you. But at the same time, um, and I actually do want to mention something that's interesting to me. There's no actual proof that Zoro is going to fight Shiryu just because he's a swordsman. Because the thing that has always been true about Zoro is, yes, he does usually fight a swordsman, but it's more so that he's fighting the second strongest member of said group as opposed to them being a swordsman. So Oda could easily flip it and say, no, Shiryu is actually not the second strongest. It's gonna eventually be Burgess. And it's entirely possible that he could throw Burgess out as his opponent. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but Oda could conceivably do that.
Going back to Wano, do you think Zoro fight King?
Okay, so I don't think many people are going to agree with this, but I think Smoothie is meant to be his first commander opponent. Because so far he has not had an opponent that's a commander. And two, since Luffy already fought Katakuri, to me it would make perfect sense for Smoothie to fight Zoro. Because he hasn't really had a chance to get his feet wet yet when it comes to those stronger opponents. I mean, we all saw how much improvement Luffy gained in Whole Cake. I think Zoro needs a strong opponent before he potentially fights King, because not that I'm saying he'd be clobbered per se, but it would give him a much easier time and at least put him closer to that playing field, if you will. So I believe that he's going to fight Smoothie. That to me just makes perfect sense. I mean, the Big Mom Pirates can't just be there for nothing. They are allied with Kaido, so I'd expect them to get involved in the fight.
Right.
So yeah, and I mean, of course, she does wield a sword. We can assume that's probably mainly how she fights, with, obviously using her devil fruit power as well. And obviously, she's a woman. Sanji's not going to fight a woman. So that to me would make perfect sense for her to serve as Zoro's opponent. Personally, I think that the Fire Festival is actually going to be the Big Mom Pirates, not Kaido. I don't have any basis for this, but because Kaido is supposed to be, at least we assume that he's going to be the final boss of Wano, the final fight of Wano. So, in order to have Big Mom have her showing, to me, it would be best if they fought her at the Fire Festival and then Kaido at Onigashima. Maybe that won't happen, but I do feel like they need. Not that I'm suggesting that Big Mom is just going to be a stepping stone, but it would to me make sense for her and her crew to kind of serve as stepping stones in a way. I mean, because we all know that Luffy is nowhere near close to the level of being able to fight an emperor on his own. Not even remotely close. So the only way to slightly get him closer to bridging that gap is for him to at least have not a one-on-one fight with her, but at least have maybe a 3-on-1 fight with her. After Smoothie's taken down. Now to answer your question regarding King, I always thought it would have made sense for it to be Luffy versus King. But if what Oda said about Luffy defeating Big Mom true, then it shouldn't be Luffy versus King. If Luffy is actually going to fight Big Mom in some capacity, this
Solo
arc.
Big Mom.
Oh no! The way I don't. Obviously, I can't say for sure because I'm not Oda, but most likely what I see happening is it being a group effort against Big Mom, but Luffy being the one to actually defeat her. Kind of like how he and Law fought. Technically, they fought Doflamingo together. I believe it would most likely be him, and I mean, I guess it would. See, that's actually the thing. Now that I think about it, is even if Luffy, Zoro, Kid, and Law, were to potentially all fight against Big Mom, would they really be strong enough to actually beat her, or would it make more sense for Marco in some way, shape, or form to show up with the Whitebeard commanders, and then they take on Big Mom? So it's like
I don't know,
Luke,
but
Marco, and someone, because I
do
don't
you
know.
do
I
you
mean,
agree with the statement that um Kaido's being outshined in his own art by Whitebeard?
yes, he's definitely being outshined, and
Because
I mean,
Kaido, I think Kaido needs to have something to push him forward because right now I don't feel Oda's giving him the best showing. Uh,
yes,
like I feel like even though I'm of the defense that he's not Lido for this situation, like some people joke on Twitter and such about, but I feel because even though he did get some prize by Odin, and it is a special sword and things of that nature, it still kind of takes away from some of the
yeah.
quote unquote invincibility.
I'm
Although we do know that he has lost fights before, so you
of
know
course he is. I
yeah,
mean,
they have stated that.
no doubt,
They stated no, they literally stated
no.
in his introduction that he's taken like thousands of L's. Um, but but yeah, it still kind of takes away from some of his invincibility a little bit. It's his
See, that's
presumed
the thing.
invincibility.
That's the thing, though. I
Cause we
always
knew, cause we knew he'd get defeated, but we didn't know he can get like he's got.
right.
We didn't know it was that bad against Odin. Like people, including myself, thought it was gonna be like it's something where it was like a struggle. Like it wasn't really much of a struggle. Like, he just sliced him like with the most basic of slices, and he just really hurt him. And it
I
made
will
Odin, and
agree
it looked
that
like Odin really could like kill Kaido. He probably could have if he didn't get snucked. Which I'm not also I'm not blaming Kaido for sneaking him too because he's a pirate as well. So
yeah. First of all, to address the presumed invincibility, I always saw it as when the narrator, which I know is supposed to be Oda, but I mean in the anime it's obviously not his. Um, I always looked at it as when the narrator says something along the lines of when he words it in such a way, to me, that's Oda saying, this is what the people believe. It's not necessarily the truth. This is what the people.
Oh, I feel you. I feel you on that because yeah, going off your profile pic, they said he never the cat carry what he never like sleep on his back or something. What was it
Right,
specifically? He never
right.
laid on his
Like,
back. That's what it was. He never laid on his back.
exactly. Like Belay said, Katakuri never slept on his back. He's never been on his back. That was all fabric. That was not true. Now, that of course did not take away from the fact that yeah, Katakuri is still incredibly strong. And Kaido obviously is not one of the Yonko for nothing. But the whole invincibility thing, do I think it's very likely that his devil fruit affords him a ridiculous amount of durability? Absolutely. But immortality, I mean,
I don't know because it's like this dude is trying to kill himself, right? So how come like he's
that,
been able to do nothing to kill himself? So
that's
Odin's
another thing
stronger. So
too.
stronger. So Odin is stronger than his one slice is stronger than any attempt of him being able to kill himself. Like that's like immeasurably strong, and it makes it even more kind of BS that he died from a bullet in that sense, even if he was weakened. But
I feel like Oda kind of wrote himself into a corner with that whole narration thing about suicide is his it, what's the word? It's
hobby
his
or whatever.
yeah, that suicide is his hobby. Okay. So if suicide is his hobby and nobody's been able to kill him, then you've basically made your readers and you've convinced them that Kaido can't be defeated. Maybe you should have chosen your words a little better.
Yeah, like
Well, but here's the thing, though. During the hype thing, he did say that Kaido got defeated, like seven, and then captured. So, see, and this is something like when you go back to the way the story is told, like people need to remember all the facts, right? I feel like sometimes it's
Yeah,
the very much hype stuff that people remember because never was it said that Kaido is absolutely invincible. They say when it's a one-on-one, bet on Kaido. That phrasing alone already tells you that it's not always a 100% guarantee. They're just telling you that you have better odds at betting on Kaido than betting on somebody else. Not saying that 100% of the time this man is untouchable. And plus, when he got introduced to us, right, we saw that he had a scar. How is a man that is invincible have a scar? So it's like,
I mean, it's
you know,
it even reminds me what were because you were saying that the fan base believes that Kaido isn't as impressive. The fan base should also, not that I'm saying they don't, should also take into consideration the fact that we know that Whitebeard has likely been best. I mean, when he was with the Rocks, he probably got beaten by
so
somebody.
they got rock.
But
yeah, exactly.
the thing, what was I gonna say? I just want to finish this thought before it leaves my mind. The thing about Kaido and the thing about betting on Kaido, even that sounds a bit suspect because if that's the case, that kind of implies that Whitebeard wouldn't be able to beat him 1-on-1, or that the likes of Roger in his prime wouldn't be able to beat Kaido 1-on-1, even if it was high difficulty. That I kind of feel is a little disingenuous, but you know,
Yeah,
I,
no, I know what you're saying.
that could just be headcanon. I mean, it's entirely possible that Kaido is actually stronger than Roger and Beard.
Well,
Wouldn't
but
lie.
see, that's the thing, right? And I guess it's just like when I read the story, I
Yeah,
guess I look at it from a different lens where I never take something as an absolute. That's something that others convinced me to do very early on, where when somebody said to be a certain way, I just look at the whole thing. I'm like, okay, so he's not like an ultimate being, but he's very close, right? And when you have somebody that's been said to have suffered defeat, albeit not that many times, but he has, and then like the whole phrasing around
They just
his
can't kill
person,
him. They just can't kill him.
e- exactly. Like I never thought that he was completely invincible. That's why, like to me, when the fandom reacts a certain way to, like, for example, when Odin slashed Kaido. First of all, we knew it was gonna happen, right? But
Yeah.
but there's so many people that were so shook. They're like, no, how can Odin make it, you know, so easy that he can cut Kaido? Like, I'm like, Odin is not a regular dude. He was already a threat before leaving one. And
Yep.
then he traveled with both Whitebeard and Roger. What did you expect? Like, people
And,
sometimes upset me with their lack of understanding of context. I just
and
don't get. I'm like, your reaction doesn't make sense given on the context that we have.
I want to add to what you said, by the way. Um, we also should assume that Odin probably got stronger during his journeys with White.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
I mean, if Luffy got stronger during his journey and everybody else does, why wouldn't the same be true for Odin?
We can also kind of
Especially when
assume
you're
that
surrounded
Kaido.
by freaks.
We can also kind of assume that Kaido's probably stronger than he was 20 years ago too.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. See,
Uh,
that's another thing too.
I mean, yeah, I like to think that Odin definitely got stronger during his journeys with them because, I mean, yeah, we didn't see him fight really anybody with the exception of that when he got attacked by Roger, but still,
I
I
mean,
mean,
people don't like to use flashes, but I still think flashes mean something because Usopp is not clashing with Roger. Like God Usopp memes aside, he's not clashing with Roger. So I do think
Of
flashes
course.
do mean something with strength. So that. So we gotta think
Yeah,
about
they,
he
they,
clashed
they mean something.
with Whitebeard even before he went on the journey, and he was pretty young even back then. So yeah, this
Yeah.
dude Odin's pretty freakishly strong.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and you know,
I
I
mean,
feel like
What
go
you
ahead.
finna say, Ralph?
I was just gonna say real quick, like I feel the main reason why people don't like to go off of clashes anymore is because of Marineford. Because it was so all over the place. There's so many things happening at once and so many quote unquote clashes that people are just like, nah, we can't use that as a benchmark because, yes, Marco clash with Kizaru, but then Kizaru is it just becomes very convoluted very quick. So I think that's why it's okay.
yeah, I mean, a clash in general, no matter what series it is never confirming that the two characters are on the same level.
It's
It,
not 100% conclusive, but it has some meaning to some.
oh, it absolutely has meaning, but a clash. I mean, okay. Let's look at real life. If two skilled swordsmen clash blades with each other, that doesn't mean that both are equal. That just means
No,
they're
that
skilled
the
enough.
fight is like a mid to a high diff. That's what that means.
Right. It means they're close enough to where, for example, um, when Big Mom and Kaido clashed, that didn't confirm to me that she's on his exact level or that they're equal. Do I think there's a significant strength difference? Probably not. No, but even if there's a slight difference and Kaido is just a little bit stronger, that doesn't mean that she shouldn't still be able to clash blades with him. It just, I think people take the who's stronger way too far and assume that if somebody said that Kaido's stronger than Big Mom, that they seem to think, oh, well, then you must believe that Kaido could one shot Big Mom. Absolutely not.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, because I had conversations with people about this same kind of topic, and it's like, if I say that I think Kaido's Big Mom, I'm not suggesting that he's flicking his fingers and knocking her out or beating her effortlessly. No, he's even if he does end up winning, he's getting really messed up beforehand. I mean, just like if Shanks was to have actually fought Whitebeard. If Whitebeard was to have won, it doesn't mean that he's getting out of that without serious stab. I mean, so yeah, I
Yeah,
might have gotten off.
there's no way because like yeah, you could be stronger than someone, but like if you're not ridiculously stronger than someone, then they still have a chance against you. That's just
Exactly.
how it is. But
Yeah, you can
but
still get caught lacking.
yeah,
Like,
call that. But
I mean, it is what it is.
Mm.
But yeah, no. In going back to how the events to play out with the fights and everything, I honestly think that um, Luffy can fight, Yonko, but it's something that scares me, and it has scared me ever since the beginning of the post time skip. The fact that so Luffy ate multiple servings of humble pie, right? Between
facts.
Impel Down, between like Sabondi, Impel Down, and Marineford, and then getting trained with Rayleigh when at first he wasn't respecting him like that. Oh, okay, all right, you're the real deal, right? So coming off of that, I honestly thought that he would have a better understanding of what he can or cannot do.
Oh yeah, going off of that too. That's why I can respect Odin. Even though Odin he did it because of the fact that he didn't want everyone to die, but I can respect him for like keeping a calm head because I was me and Kat and just like I know other people we was like roasting him for like twerking in the streets for 5 years. But at the same time I didn't know it was something behind it. But I just feel like he should have tried harder, but that's just
Yeah,
another
yeah,
subject though.
By the way, I'm just gonna say the reasoning for him doing that to me just feels inconsistent with his character, and that's all I'll say.
No, I think that's just character growth. That I don't think he would have done that at the beginning of his arc, but I think that's just character growth. I think he just because
Otis,
I think no. Listen, I think the people he was with were just positive influences for like having honor to that level.
that's entirely possible. That being with Whitebeard made him. He always definitely cared about people to some extent, but perhaps being with Whitebeard made him care even more and actually realize that not that he wants to be a leader, but yeah, it's very possible that he was influenced in the right ways by Whitebeard, and that's why when he came back to Wano, he was willing to get down on his hands and knees and basically beg
Sucked him
to
off basically.
yeah.
He became
So
a
yeah,
hooker, man. He was dancing for money.
yeah. I just I guess well maybe I shouldn't bring that up because that's all like
I mean, we can go a little off topic. I just try to loop it back, a little bit sometimes.
yeah.
Of course, we can go off topic and talk about other things and stuff too. But it's like I just try to loop it back a little bit. But I think that do y'all agree with the post I put it in One Piece VC talk?
Uh,
Was Odin a good character or not? We're not talking about was he like strong, whatever. Was he like from everything of what you think of what a good character was? Was he a good character? I mean, good, yeah.
yes, I think he deserved a little more screen time, maybe just a little bit more of being able to see his actual journeys
Yeah,
with
the five
Whitebeard.
years needed a little bit something.
I definitely think we needed to see more of him journey, and just in general. And I'm not talking about fights here.
That would have made me
I'm
feel more for him when he died. That's exactly that. Now I think about it, that's probably. I think that's exactly why I didn't feel more when he died. His death was super badass, and it should have been a moment where I'm like, "This dude is raw, man. This dude is raw," and I'm crying. You know, I want Owen to live. I should have been. That should have been what happened. But I think because I should feel for him because he's a good man. You know, he's a badass and he's defending his people. But I felt for him, but it wasn't enough to make me like. It wasn't. It wasn't like a lot. It was
I
like
And you know
it.
what it is about that though? I feel it's because of how he lived his life. Like he lived his life in a way where he always stood by what he believed in very firmly, regardless of how people looked at him.
Yep.
So it felt like he was just his own being, completely removed even from like Toki or his kids. Like he was so large as an entity, right? That when he died, you're thinking, okay, this is hype. Like this is the first time I see a character's death and I'm actually hyped. Like I'm not sad, but I'm just hyped. Like, yeah, this dude was a G. Like he went out like a boss, you know? And I think to some extent that's why you maybe not you're not feeling sad because the I don't think you're supposed to feel sad, even though the people in the crowd crying, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe he's getting killed after he did the hour of legend." But I think it was just the epicness of his being, of who he was that translated into his death to where when he died, it was just yeah. And then that smile, bro, I got chills when I saw that. Wow, even in death, like, this man is just mm. He don't miss. Okay, just
He
just so you know. So,
he in the casket with the nicest drip, man. It's just like
dude, yeah, he's got all the drip, man, both figuratively and literally. And this man was dripping oil, but uh, yeah, no, I don't think his death was supposed to be sad. And I don't know if you went on Twitter. King of Lightning made this poll asking people between Corazon and Oden, whose death was the better death, right? In their eyes. And of course, a lot of people said Corazon. I think the majority leaned towards Oden, though. It was like 60% to 40%. And I saw some of the comments, and I couldn't be mad at the people that were riding hard for Corazon because his death was so emotional because everything that led up to it, right? Like him protecting Law and then using the Concom fruit to make it quiet while my man was bawling his eyes out.
you say the gum for
Yeah.
Tarzan.
Yeah, Corazon.
I
He
felt
So
didn't
for
have
Corazon too.
yeah, that hit different, That was just like, oh my goodness. But for me, Oden's death is just it turns a sad moment or a moment that should be sad into like a celebration. Even the people at the end in the crowd were celebrating with him when he said his final words. So I feel like at the end of the day, it just depends on which you value more, like the hype of Odin's death or the emotional impact of Corazon's death. Like it's one or the
I
other
mean,
speaks
personally,
more to you.
I value the emotional impact, and like you did bring up a great behind point that yeah, it was more probably because it was just such a cool moment, to where it's like I could feel less sadness for it, but I feel like okay, okay. Well, I'm not gonna spoil Code Geass, but there's a certain I ain't gonna say what character it is, but there's a
Oh
certain
yeah, never
character.
that.
Don't say it because Kat hasn't seen Code Geass all the way.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna
you're
say
not
never that.
you don't want to
but
spoil it.
basically, I ain't gonna spoil. But basically, there's a certain character to which they die, but the death is both epic and it's emotional. I feel like that's what Odin's death could have been if I got more of his character. But I do agree, Ralph, that Teddy, whatever. I I do agree that yes, it was because it was just so hype as well. So that's probably why I don't feel sad because it was just so hype. But yeah, I feel like I feel like I should feel both. You know. It's like a character is going, you know. But yeah, I feel
I
you
don't
on
know.
that. That was a good rebuttal. Though. I feel you on that, but
I kind of want to say something regarding Corazon. I feel like everybody would hate me if I said it, so maybe I won't.
well, you didn't like it that much.
I didn't really care for Corazon. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, he was cool, but unlike with Odin, I don't know. Part of me kind of feels like Corazon was just thrown in there to make Law's backstory more tragic. Which
I mean, obviously, I mean, that ain't that how characters work.
yeah, and I'm not saying that was what Oda's intention was or what he was thinking. Like, oh, I'm gonna give Doflamingo a brother for this purpose. No, definitely not. But um, it's not that his death didn't affect me because I don't like you. I'm not saying that at all. I I think it's because I was already affected by Law's backstory that Corazon's death didn't really hit me because I was already hit by the events that preceded Law, you know, becoming the man he is today. That um
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, um, quick side note, I agree with. I don't say I agree, but I'm with you regarding Ace. I barely felt anything when he died. I just felt the pain for Luffy. Like you see his face. But
yeah,
yeah, um,
it was it was more so a shock because up until that point, everything that Luffy said he was going to do, he did. So
yeah,
hearing him say, "I'm gonna save Ace," and then, I mean, he did save him, so technically he wasn't unable to, but ultimately Ace didn't stay saved because unfortunately he did die. Of course, trying to protect Luffy, but still did die. So for Luffy, that still feels like a failure. Um, it's not to say that I wouldn't have at all felt emotional towards Ace's death because it is Ace. For me, it was just I feel like he wasn't in the story long enough for me to develop an attachment to his character.
much like
That's
Pedro.
that's the reason why I personally couldn't feel upset about it. That's not to say that it's unreasonable to be upset towards it. It's just for me personally, I need to feel like I actually know that person, though they were real, before I can start feeling moved by something that happened.
I
Um,
agree,
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, that's why if yeah,
and it is entirely possible before like if anybody has a rebuttal where it's like, well, I didn't have enough time in the story. It's not like he's like Luffy or something. Or Ace didn't have enough time in the story. It's not like he's like the main character. But here's the thing: Oda and other writers have done it before, to where a character doesn't need like 1,000 pages or 1,000 episodes or whatever of screen time for you to care about
For
that
you to
character.
care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, hmm, that's a
So
fact.
that just means that he might just not done it right. Basically, he might just messed up it.
Exactly.
So
It's
um,
basically a case of like quality over quantity. It's
because
like we
he
don't
has
need to
done it,
see
he's
that character a
because that
lot, but
that's
like
one of the
when we
reasons
do see
why
him,
we
you
have so
know,
many issues with
he's
Oda
got
and
a
what he's
hit.
doing now.
um, well,
Because we know he can do better than this. That's kind of one of the reasons why we have such a problem with him. Because we know he can do better. It's just I don't
it's
know what's going on. But I guess he's
I'm
been doing the story for so long. But
I'm just all right. Regarding the whole Ace thing, um, I will say that
no, I'm not saying that I felt for Ace death like as much as other deaths in the series. I'm just saying that there has been deaths in the series to where they haven't been around that long, but I have felt for them in the series before.
I'll be completely honest with you. While I wasn't necessarily upset, by Ace's death. I definitely felt a lot more regarding it than I ever did when spoilers, Itachi died. I'm gonna be honest with you, not gonna go into the specifics of that, of course, but his did literally nothing for me.
I mean, no, because he was actually shoot, freak. Okay, shoot. Okay, so Naruto spoilers. Y'all can skip past this part in the stream if y'all want to, but basically with Itachi, of course, his death didn't really affect me, and that was because I mean, who in the world hasn't seen Naruto though? But but that was because of the fact that he was a villain at first, and it was weird because it was kind of like hinted at that he um how I put this, that he basically kind of let himself die, or at least wasn't at his most powerful. But then after his whole story was revealed, I was like, dang, like for all Naruto's flaws, I feel like for me personally, I feel like the whole Itachi twist was like extremely like one of my favorite plot twists. Uh,
I I just feel like Itachi's a major hypocrite and a scumbag for doing that to his brother, regardless of what his reasoning was.
huh?
Sorry, like I love you, brother, but I'm gonna screw with your head. Like, yeah, that's a loving brother right there.
He did to save his village
True, but you put your poor brother through Tsukuyomi for crying out loud, dude.
because he wanted his
Like,
brother to kill him.
I know he wanted his brother to kill him, but did you have to potentially mentally scar him
I
permanently?
mean, Itachi did later say that he could have done things better, but he's not like an irredeemable monster. He was trying to save lives.
I just like to laugh at that a little bit, because I mean, granted, Ace wasn't actually Luffy's brother, but well, by blood, but since I think we can still consider Ace to be Luffy's brother, um, their relationship to me was much more believable. Maybe I shouldn't say more believable because that's not really true, but I feel like when it comes to Itachi, to me it feels as though Kishimoto truly sure of where he wanted to take him, which is why he put in such a twist, as opposed to Ace, who was always the way he was. The Ace that we saw in Alabasta was the same way he was throughout any appearance he had in the series. He always felt like the same character. He never deviated from that. So, you know, with his death, he died the way you would have expected him to die. Protecting Luffy, who he sees as his younger brother. As opposed to with Itachi, who seemingly starts off as evil and still has some quote unquote evil tendencies, yet we're also expected to believe that he wants the best for Sasuke. And those
Yeah,
things,
he's a tragic villain. He started off seeming as just a pure evil villain, and he ended off as a tragic villain. What
but
revealed more was when it was real more about him.
that of course is going completely off topic because this is supposed to be a One Piece.
Yeah, but I mean, Tachi is one of the most popular characters in Naruto. But I feel you though. But I feel you kind of not giving them. Uh, I feel like it's slightly unfair. But yeah, back to Odin and stuff.
Yeah, it might be a little bit unfair.
Because he was trying to save like an entire village. He put his own emotions aside. He was like crying the whole time to save it. But yeah, anyways, so I feel like I feel you. Like yeah, he shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, he was just kind of trying to like
I think,
save lives and stuff. But I guess I feel you because like you don't kind of like the fact that it was like it took away from him just kind of being an evil character. Um,
well, all I'm gonna say, this last thing I'm gonna say regarding this, if Itachi maybe used some kind of mental healing jutsu on his brother to restore
well, he
whatever
did. I don't remember that, but
if it doesn't actually happen, but I'm just saying hypothetically speaking, if Itachi had said something along the lines to, okay, here, let me use a reverse genjutsu on you. It'll undo all of the psychological damage I've done to you. Kind of as a final way of making up to you, what I've done to you. That to me would have perfectly redeemed, anything he might have potentially done to him. That's pretty much all I'm gonna say regarding that. But
Yeah. And my last thing is his death. He was like, yeah, I could have handled things better. I could have maybe talked to someone. And then he was
huh,
like, and then he was like, no matter how you feel about me, I always love you. Like he's like, even if you hate me, he said that to Sasuke. So
but
he wasn't
maybe
he
it was
wasn't he wasn't perfect. He wasn't like you know,
well, maybe that
but he,
sorry,
huh?
maybe that was Kishimoto's uh you know, plan. Maybe he wanted Itachi to seem to be flawed in that regard because he was always seen as being perfect. So maybe his plan was to have him have those kinds of flaws to make him seem more realistic.
I feel like it was because Tati pointed out himself, like
Yeah.
in his second death. When they brought him back, but yeah, okay. So Naruto discussion over. Now I'm about to go back and look at the stream and put a timestamp in the comment section. But yeah, back to Odin.
Oda or Odin?
Odin. We could get we
Odin.
can get on Oda. We could roast him.
I don't want to roast him. I just want to say
Let me
things.
live, Oda.
I don't want to roast the man. I do just want to say two things, which I guess I might as well say now. I respect the fact that he prefers to do it all by himself, but at the same time, not doing himself any favors by doing that. And not that I'm saying it's his intention to slightly hurt the story. And when I say that, please take that with a grain of salt, of course. Um, it's just frustrating that, and I don't
A
live in
story that you
Japan.
love so much is falling off from grace.
It's not that he's losing his touch. It's just you know him basically essentially working himself to death. Not
Yeah,
literally. His health is not great because of that. Because of the fact that he seems to be allowing that is what's frustrating. Because if he would just, I don't know if this is even possible, when you're a mangaka, but if it was possible for him to hire people to do some of the drawing, even if it's not going to be as perfect, wouldn't it be best for the story overall? He was to obviously still be, mainly involved in it, but have some people take up the slack so that, it can still be done well and he doesn't have to, you know,
rush
destroy
some
him.
things and stuff because he's trying to finish One Piece in 5 years, and it's weird because it's like before the story was going too slow, but now it may be arguably going too fast in some parts, and that's why certain characters and events weren't flashed out, and things of that nature.
Well, um, I do think it's possible he could wrap it all up nicely in five, but the best way to do that is to get that extra help so
Yeah,
that he can ensure its quality stays the same throughout its continuity, and he also can spare himself a decent amount of stress so that can at least ensure that he's I mean
yeah,
what kind of anxiety he must have because of working almost unreasonably hard. They
true.
can didn't one of his editors literally pretty much have to say you have to take breaks because you're not doing yourself any favors? I mean, That's what's so frustrating about it for me is, you know, when you create something, it's your passion, it's your life, it's a big deal to you. You're always gonna love it as though a parent would feel towards their child. But I feel like, you know, if you want it to continue having that quality, you
You
have to realize
gotta you gotta take breaks and you gotta accept help.
what happened.
I said you gotta take breaks and you gotta accept help.
Yes, accept help and realize that, you know, help is going to be better for you in the long run because it'll ensure that you're not going to be completely burned out due to, you know, work and stress. It'll ensure that the quality stays, you know, consistent.
Yeah. And Ralph, I got a question, bro.
What's up?
Huh?
What a question?
No, I was talking to Ralph.
Oh, sorry.
Ralph, you there, bro?
Oh yeah, where is Raph? Is he still here?
I think we dirked him out with the Naruto talk.
Sorry about
No,
that.
I just been listening, man.
Oh, you chilling? You
Okay.
chilling, bro? You vibing?
No, I'm good. I'm gonna dip in a minute, but
Okay.
no, it's just a lot of great input. I mean, and I agree that Oda needs to get a little bit more help because it looks like he's putting a lot of the load himself.
Yeah.
Um,
And
he
I
just
had a
needs to find a
question.
way. He just needs to
Uh,
make it to where he doesn't take away from the story. But yeah, I'm about to dip. You know, I have to go to work. But
okay, bro. I
shoot,
feel you.
great talk, man. We should do this more often.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Definitely.
Um, for your Raph, there is one thing. Oh, never mind. You
Well,
left.
yeah. Well, okay.
I
Uh,
was I was I was gonna mention to him how because he mentioned that he grew up with One Piece since 2003. Um, I actually kind of started off at the same time. Because I believe it was unfortunately just the Four Kids anime that was real exposure to it. Um, in 2003. So I kind of started off.
yeah. I mean, I had a question. How do you feel about cause I've been saying it to myself like, but how do you feel about the whole Odin dancing sequences? You there? Yeah, I mean, I had a question. Yo, I can't hear you. Cat. Hold on, let me try something. Did this nigga derp out on me? Are you serious? Don't tell me this nigga derped out on me. I can't hear you. Cat. I can't hear you, bro. This nigga. Think this dude derped out on me, bro. Well, uh, technical difficulties. I appreciate him coming through, but yeah. I feel like it's possible that Odin will show up later in Wano. I don't have a definite that it will happen. Um, and it seems like he should be dead, but who knows what could happen. Yo,
I didn't mean to dip. My apologies.
yo,
Um,
I'm about to
yeah,
end it soon. I'm about to end it
guess
soon, but I was gonna
I
ask
guess
you. I was
what's up?
gonna ask you. I'm at the end of sim, but I was gonna ask you. I've been saying how I've been feeling about the dancing. I wonder how do you feel about the olden dance sequences?
Okay, so I am somewhat okay. So after we got the reveal as to why he was doing the dance, it kind of lessened the blow. But that said, I don't understand why we couldn't have gotten a scene where Orochi was saying to Odin, "I'll make a deal with you. You do this, and I'll spare those hostages." I
Yeah,
don't understand.
I
Couldn't have
agree.
got then, like, and the whole 5 years thing. I mean, I understand that Oda likes to save the reveals for things until he considers it to be absolutely the best time, and I'm not going to bash him for that. But because this was a flashback about Odin,
And it's really weird too. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's really weird too. Like also go back on how easy he can cut Kaido. But
yeah.
despite him being able to cut Kaido so easy, he still was just dancing for 5 years, and he didn't seem to try to do anything until someone got him out of his funk.
So, it's kind of for me hard to accept that. So you mean to tell me that he was going to stay his blade and do that completely demeaning dance for the sake of the hostages' lives, but then years later decide, oh no, I'm just going to attack Kaido anyway,
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm
forget.
saying. And he did it so easily. Like,
If that was the case, it really makes you question, why didn't he just do that and say, no, I'm not going to dance. I'm going to
yeah,
try to down again. I mean, it just, to me, it kind of feels a little bit inconsistent with Odin's character. I mean, he's
I
more
agree.
so. I mean, it could just be a case of, it looked good on paper, but, the execution wasn't the way that Oda originally wanted it
And
to
then
be.
also, he straight up kind of pulled a judge. Like, he really suspected Kyle to keep his deal. Kyle and
Which, by the
Orochi.
way, also, which, by the way, there was something I wanted to say regarding Odin's death, because it might have been Wrath who said that, or it might have even been you, who said that Kaido shooting Odin was, because he's honorable. If Kaido was honorable, there's a lot of things he definitely would not have done that he's done. Like
I feel like
keeping
he's a
his.
certain type of honorable, but you can keep going. I'll explain that later.
If Kaido was truly honorable in a way, he would have kept his word. Number one, um, and number two, I mean, if you really intended to be honorable, why didn't you just execute Odin via firing squad? Like, I mean, it's kind of weird because at first it's like he's kind of amused by Odin's torturous death, so it would kind of feel more in line with Kaido's character based on that scene to just watch the man literally burn to death, and yet he decides, oh no, I'm just going to finish him. To me, though, it felt more like Kaido killed him to shut him up before he could finish his speech. Because you notice
Mm,
how he basically killed him mid sentence.
yeah,
I think that was the only reason why. Because he didn't want his words to inspire people any further. So yeah, I think that's what it was about. I just need Odin to shut up and stop talking, potentially riling these people up. So I gotta end him right now.
yeah. But I mean, at the same time, there have been honorable characters who do love violence, who have resisted. I'm not sure in One Piece, but they have existed though. But
That's true. Um, that's true. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am very much looking forward to Kaido's flashback because he's guaranteed to get one. He has to.
will it be good?
I'm,
Is another question. We'll have to
well,
see. Well, you don't have to really answer that. I'm just saying it's one of the things I'm just talking. It's like we don't know. Will
well,
it be good? I hope so, but
well. I'm gonna. I've said to other people before. I'm gonna wait until Wano is actually finished as an arc before I judge it completely. Everything that I've disagreed with so far can be fixed. It is very much so possible for Oda to fix the things that I dislike. Not because it's me that dislikes them, but it is very possible that Oda could still do that. So I'm going to have faith in him until Wano is done. That's when I'll, and honestly, once it is done, I'm sure we can have a big discussion regarding, you know, did did the perceived shortcomings actually end up getting, you know, fixed,
yeah, of
or
course.
like I'll give you an example. I'm still pretty salty about the page one fight being off screen. Now, I think Oda did that so as to keep certain abilities of Sanji's a secret.
Possible.
And I think it's very likely that we will see that fight via a flashback or bits and pieces of it while Sanji is possibly even fighting him again, which I think is probably going to happen.
But
I mean, I don't really.
there's been a lot of stuff that's been off screen since then. Even since then.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
man, it's just so much off screen. And to go back on that, Aokiji versus Akainu, it's innumerable. It's how do I put this? It's immeasurable kind of now. How much stuff is off screen?
that's true.
Like a lot of this
Um,
flashback was off screen. Like you was saying earlier. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was you saying earlier how the adventures was off screen. The a lot of the scalpers are off screen. The 5 years are off screen, and it's just so I don't know if we're going back to Drake and Sanji because you know
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to hope that Oda is just saving what we haven't seen for what he considers to be the appropriate time to show it. I'm gonna have to hope that's the case because, you know, to me, there just isn't any other reason for that to be the case other than I'm saving it for what I consider to be the most opportune moment to show it. Um, and honestly, if that does end up happening, all is forgiven. You know, you.
I don't know if it's even still all is forgiven because it's just like some stuff should still be shown though, man. You know, just at that time,
I agree.
it's like for the sake of like it's almost like I don't know how to put it, but like one of them shows that's like not even that good in writing, but it's just kind of meant to keep you in suspense so you can keep tuning in and giving them money and giving them views or watching it because it's just. But of course,
I do think,
suspense is fine. Suspense is fine, but some things
yeah,
should be told at a certain time.
yeah.
It's just the sake. It's just suspense for the sake of suspense. It's like so much suspense that I'm not. I don't think Oda's gonna be able to like answer every question and like show every scene that needs to be shown.
And that's kind of what I feel is a flaw that he has as a writer is that he just keeps coming up with more mysteries when there's already so many mysteries to still reveal that honestly, Oda, it would be a lot better if you stopped creating more mysteries and just show things so that the things that already are mysteries can be shown and you're not creating even more work for yourself. Like, I mean, we still don't know anything about Vegapunk. Haven't seen his face. You know, there's stuff regarding things from pre-time skip that we still haven't gotten full disclosure on, and now he's creating even more mysteries. And it just feels like he's going to get to a point where he's put so many mysteries into the story that he can't possibly reveal them all, and that is very frustrating to me. Um, I mean, like as I said, I'll reserve judgment for this arc when it is finally finished. Um, you know, because there is still that light at the end of the tunnel that this could end up being a great arc. And not to say that it's a bad arc necessarily, but for me personally, what I consider to be flaws
Mm-hmm.
definitely hold it back a great deal.
Yeah, it was nice getting someone else's perspective that's a little bit less clinical about One Piece than us too.
Yeah, I'm only like this because things that I'm a fan of, I want them to be the best they can be, especially when I know they can be that way.
I agree because it's been better than this before. It's like
And that's not.
people be like, oh, Oda's been doing this for years, man. Oda's been doing this for years, and yeah, he has been. It's been actually well written for years
I
until
still
lately years.
don't think there's a decent amount that is well written. I just feel like,
Yeah, I don't feel like everything is horrible. No, of course not.
oh no,
I don't even feel like this
it's not.
backstory is horrible. It's just not. It's just not enough. But
It's possible that Oda really is planning to show things he hasn't shown in some respect, whether it be Luffy and company hearing about it, because again, as far as I know, they're not actually present during this flashback. It's not being told to them by somebody. So, because of that, I think it's entirely possible that we learn more when Luffy, Zoro, and everybody else learns more. Um, that could very well be what Oda's game plan is to, because you know how he tends to do that, where he wants the viewer to learn things as Luffy learns things. I
right,
do think that's entirely that could definitely be the case. When it comes to certain details that we haven't gotten revealed, especially with Akainu and Kuzan, it's entirely possible their fight could show up as a flashback, but only when maybe Kuzan is potentially speaking to Luffy and saying, yes, Akainu and I fought, and then we get like a flashback of that fight. I could see that happening. Who knows? There might even be a rematch. We could potentially see Kuzan fight Akainu again. Not saying that's gonna happen, but I do have to assume that there's a reason as to why Oda is doing things the way he's doing them, and that it'll pay off. Because if not, then it'll just be unfair not to think that way. Got to
right,
give him the benefit of the doubt.
right. But going off of fights, do you think the anime is gonna do a like Odin versus Kaido and have Luffy be Kaioken or something? I mean, have Odin be Kaioken or something? Like, do you think it's gonna be justice, or do you think it's gonna be like, I don't know, like not
What do you mean specifically?
okay. So do you think it's gonna do the fight justice, where it's gonna be like not trying to do too much, but also not do too little?
You mean regarding Odin and Kaido?
Yeah, in the anime.
Oh, you mean in terms of what could be added to it to spice it up a bit?
Not
Uh,
exactly added to it. I mean, you could talk about that. I was asking, do you think it's gonna be good in the anime?
well, I'll put it to you like this: for the most part, the Kaido, you know, becoming a dragon reveal to me was far better in the anime than it was in the
That
manga.
was dope. That was super dope.
Um, There is something that's interesting about that, though. Not to deviate, but just slightly to deviate.
Bruh, all this deviation.
In the Vivre card data book, I believe it had been stated that Kaido can't actually fly. Yet, in the anime, he's shown flying. So, either Oda chose to change that, or that was a mistranslation or something. Because I think what we need to consider is, while there are a decent amount of us that read the manga, there are a decent amount of anime only watchers also who would be, maybe not furious, but they'd be a little bit annoyed if they were to find out that Kaido flying isn't canon and it's anime only. So I have to think that Oda wouldn't have allowed that, or he would have said, no, that's not the case, if Kaido isn't meant to be able to fly. You know, that to me was probably Oda saying, all right, I changed my mind. You know, Kaido should be able to fly. I feel like that was probably maybe even a change, or maybe it was never the case to begin with. I mean, you know, it has been stated that you should take you should take what's revealed in the data books with a grain of salt and not take them as 100% truth.
Right.
Now, getting back to what you said regarding Odin and Kaido, I could definitely see that fight being somewhat prolonged. Now, obviously, I can't say for sure, but just like in the Katakuri fight with Luffy, how Katakuri used attacks that weren't in the manga, I could see that approach being taken with Odin, where, you know, once, hopefully, at the point when that is in the anime, we'll know more about what Kaido can actually do, you know, in terms of his abilities and whatnot, so that they can maybe add those to the anime. Because, honestly, I feel like the reason as to why we didn't really see that fight is because Oda wants to save what Kaido can actually do for when he's actually in a fight in the present storyline.
It's possible.
Like, do you agree with that, or?
Oh, that he's saving what Kyle could do for the present storyline.
Right,
I,
because
I,
for the manga, he
I,
probably wants to serve as somewhat of a surprise.
right.
But when the anime,
I do think that's probably the case. Like during the war, like he's gonna be showing off like some crazy feats. I mean, he's already shown off some pretty impressive feats. Like his slash with Big Mom was pretty great. The giant fire blast. So I do think, yeah, he's probably gonna show off a lot more.
but going along with that, we can probably easily assume that by the time that part gets animated in the manga, we will likely already be at the point in the story where they're actually fighting Kaido. So, with that potentially being the case, I can definitely see Oda saying, "Well, there's no need to, you know, keep this back anymore. Add this to the anime and have Kaido do this and Odin do that
Oh,
because
so you're of the opinion that Oda does put input in the anime, like quite a
I
lot
can't
of it.
I can't say for sure, but I could see that. Just like, for example, there were things that Kaido was doing in the anime in his dragon form that he wasn't doing in the manga, like summoning lightning. That could very easily have been Oda's way of saying, I know I didn't show him doing that in the manga, but he can do that. He can actually attack people with the weather in his dragon form. I think that's perfectly logical that Oda had them do that on purpose. Um, I mean, I could be wrong, but you know, I mean, I'll be honest. His dragon form became way more impressive to me when I saw that yes, he can actually like attack people with lightning. He can actually control weather itself, not just summon dark clouds. Um, so that's pretty much my stance on
Yeah. So, any last thoughts on Odin and his flashback and his character overall?
it. From what we got, I was pleased. Just talking about what we got and not taking into consideration what we might not have gotten,
Right.
I was pleased.
I feel like
I
I feel like as a flashback, I'll probably rate it a I don't know if I can rate a flashback. Hmm. I guess I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I guess maybe I need to stop giving these sevens because seven is actually kind of a high score. Because I did really like seeing Whitebeard and Roger and company. But I guess I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. I feel like that might be too low, but I'll go with 6 point. I'll just go with a 7, I guess.
think a seven's fair because it's not terrible. It's missing things that maybe some of us would have wanted to see.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
for,
yeah, yeah. If it wasn't for Whitebeard and them, I probably would have gave it a 6.
yeah, but for what we did get and regarding Odin as a character, I would definitely say that he left a pretty big impression on me with Odin. Um, Even despite my personal grievances with the flashback, what was there, I definitely think um, was written well, and I also believe that Odin himself was written well. He was definitely a character that wasn't just cool. He wasn't just look how strong I am. He had complexity. He had depth. He had a personality that you could go along with. So which by the way, that was one of my concerns was that Odin was just going to end up being so cool and
Yeah, yeah,
strong.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that Oda was able to willing to humble him at times too.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Odin is definitely a well written character, and then to be completely honest with you, I believe is in some ways foreshadowing how Luffy will be when he's older. Because I got a lot of Luffy vibes from Odin. Um, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of Luffy vibes too. I think that's why I was comparing him to Luffy. When the like, cause like we was like saying, would Luffy really stop like if uh if like something happened bad to his crew? Would he stop just cause there was a barrier? Like he would like bring the entire building down, but you know, so yeah, but. I feel like overall, Odin's a cool character. I wish he would have been fleshed out more and stuff, but I feel like he was cool for what he was, and I don't feel like he was exactly badly written. He just needed a little bit more. Besides the fact, I'm not really a big fan of him really believing in Kaido and such. But
Yeah,
I do value the fact that he does definitely have character development and how he kind of started off as like he wasn't exactly a bad guy, but he kind of was just like a dude that just kind of just did his own thing, and then he became like an honorable kind of leader toward the end of his life. But he still kept his savageness, but he also gained like more like maturity and like heart and things of that nature. So it's really cool
I'm just
because
gonna say
what you
yes.
said.
I'm gonna say one last thing when you're done as my last thing because I know you want to call this off.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, because even when you develop a character, no matter what it is, like a reform character or just character development, it is also nice if they keep like parts of who they are, but they just grow.
right. Um, the last thing I'm gonna say is I truly believe this is not the last we see of Odin in the story. What do I mean by this? I truly believe that Rogers flashback, his actual flashback, and Whitebeard's actual flashback. Because, I mean, I still feel there's a lot more we need to see of those two. I do believe that when they have what could potentially even just be a joint flashback between the two of them and just be really long, I definitely do think we are going to see more of Odin when we get Roger's actual flashback. And it may just be Shanks's flashback when we see all of that stuff.
That is definitely possible. That would be nice. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So that could be why we didn't see too much, because Oda probably felt, well, I'm going to be giving Shanks a flashback at some point anyway. He's obviously was a big part of Roger's crew. It wouldn't really make sense for me to show too much of that now when I could just save it for when Shanks is going to have his whole flashback.
That's entirely possible. Because we did see more Whitebeard in this flashback, so
Yeah.
it's entirely possible.
I mean, and the other thing too, who's to say we won't get a Marco flashback, which again would heavily feature Whitebeard.
Yeah. I mean, we did actually. Now I think about it. Actually, we did learn something else too. I think I might have forgot. Didn't we? Was it Marco's fruit, or was it like whose fruit was it that we seen in this flashback that wasn't eaten yet? I forgot whose it was. I think it was Bon Clay. I think.
Right. What do you mean? What do you mean by learn, though?
Oh well, I don't know. Not really learn, but just kind of more lore, I guess.
Right. Because I'm trying to think. I don't remember any Whitebeard pirates showing off a fruit that we didn't know they already had.
Right. That didn't happen. That didn't happen yet. But do you think Odin is actually dead?
If it wasn't for him getting in the head, I would have said it's possible he's still alive.
Right.
Considering we definitely saw him get shot in the head, I can't see him surviving that. I mean, I can't see anybody surviving that, especially considering everything that he'd gone through before getting shot. Like,
True. I mean, even if they're superhumans, there still should be some level to you know, what's going on.
if he's not dead, he's at least lost an eye. And if he's not dead, where the heck has he been all this time? Just continuously tortured by Kaido?
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think we can agree just because I think we can agree that Odin's stronger than Zoro, right?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Like people saying this man Zoro gonna solo Kaido because he has Odin's sword or whatever, but yeah.
No. Now, that doesn't mean that Zoro's not going to get to that level and surpass it, because, I mean, he pretty much has to. But, I mean...
Not right now. Not right now.
The only... Okay, this will be the last thing I say, because I know you want to end the stream.
I'm just trying to cover all the bases.
It's really difficult to gauge Odin's strength, because we don't really know exactly how to stack him. We know he's strong enough to injure Kaido. We know he's strong enough to stand up to the likes of Rock and, to be recognized as powerful by Whitebeard. But we don't know exactly how he stacks. We can assume, probably safely, that he's at least capable of fighting against an Admiral one-on-one.
Right.
But we can't really gauge anything beyond that. And that is a little bit frustrating to me. Not that strength is what matters for a character, of course, but considering the topic of, could he survive this or could he do this? It is a little bit frustrating to me that we didn't actually get to see a full one-on-one fight with him against, say, an Admiral. to really gauge his strength properly. But it's entirely possible we may see that in the future via another character's flashback.
Right.
So,
But this may sound weird, but if you were to give a character rating, do you think you could rate Odin? Like
okay,
based off characters in One Piece, from what we know about characters in One Piece, do you think you could rate Odin as a character?
I can. I would probably say that out of the, I guess you would consider Odin to be what, a secondary. Well, he wouldn't. I guess he wouldn't be a secondary character because he's no longer living. But or most likely not living.
You know what? Maybe we should do it for backstory characters. Let's just do it for that'll make it easier.
Personally, he is my. This might sound a bit crazy. He is probably my favorite of the backstory of the characters that appear in backstories only.
Really?
Probably. Now, that is a little bit divisive considering that Roger is a flashback character. But I'm talking only in regards to the flashback that is intended for that character. This was not supposed to be Roger's flashback. So, in terms of characters having their own flashbacks, I would say that I like Odin the most out of those kinds of characters.
I don't know, man, because it's like a lot of we ain't really gonna go into depth about the characters, but I'm just gonna say this: I really do enjoy a lot of the characters, even if they're plot devices for the Straw Hats to get to their dream. I mean, to want to have their dreams. I really do think all of them are great. Like all of the characters in the
They,
backstory for the Straw Hats who dramatically had something happen to them for them to grow. But I guess that's a discussion for another day. And I'll probably get Odin. Honestly, this may sound like I'm hating on him, but I think I'll probably give him a 5 for flashback characters because I just feel like there's a lot of other flashback characters in the series that just really affect me more, like emotionally and things of that nature.
I'd probably give him a much higher.
A 5, I meant a 5. If that.
For me, I'd probably give him a 7.5, maybe an 8.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because Odin is a character who not only had an effect on his own people and his own country, but had an effect pretty much on the entire world in some respect. I mean, we know that he was a main member of Whitebeard's crew at one. That definitely means that the rest of the world would have known about the Marines and the people that are really keen on those kinds of information. We know that his role, even though it's ended because of his not being alive anymore, his role, his being is definitely going to serve as even more motivation for those that are still alive. So he not only affects the world in a pretty profound way because of
To
his
go off
stand.
on that a little bit, that's kind of a little bit of the problem I had of his character, and I think that was yours a little bit too, where it felt like Oda was like slurping it. He was kind of slurping them off, right? In a sense of like, it was like, what can this guy not do? And that's why we kind of said it was nice to see Odin humbled on some level. Not that we hated him, but it just felt like he just did.
Well,
It felt so much. If you
I
get what I'm
never
saying.
really, under the impression that there was nothing he couldn't do because
Not
I
exactly
knew that.
that, but just felt like it was just like, how I put this. It's just so much to him. Like it was just doing too much.
I mean, I can definitely see why people feel that way, but when I
Like he was
looked at it,
too. Yeah.
when I looked at it, I thought of it from the perspective of, well, I
It
mean, he's
felt slightly Mary Stu to me.
well, I
Because
would
listen, this dude was on Whitebeard's crew. This dude was on Roger's crew. He had a sword that could cut Kaido. He was from Wano. He was part of this super family. It was like, bro, like, and if he's also
what
a D, I'm gonna lose my mind. And
I can ex- I can accept it for a few reasons. It would be one thing if he was just a random kid who had this ridiculous amount of strength and did all this stuff. But it's because of the fact, and I mean, we obviously haven't seen if his father could fight, but I mean, it's likely that his father in his heyday was probably a strong warrior as well. Um, I like to look at it as, well, that's the kind of strength you should expect from, you know, the show. Well, I mean, not counting Orochi, obviously, but that's the kind of strength I would expect from a ruler in One Piece. You know, a ruler of Wano, which is a land of warriors. You know, not like in other kingdoms we've seen where being a warrior is such a big part of their culture. In Wano, samurai are a big part of their culture because I mean it's obviously based in on feudal Japan. So, you know, to me, it makes perfect sense that the son of a shogun should be that strong because of the culture he's a part of and his upbringing. Um, Now, I could see why you would say it kind of feels like he's kind of a Mary Sue, but for me,
at first he was, at first.
I would have only felt that way if he did more than give Kaido a scar and actually cut off his arm. You know, like if he was able to do more than give him a scar, yeah, I'd be in a I'd completely see it that way as well.
Because I
But
feel like it would have been fine for like Shanks or something, but I just felt like it was kind of just like this new character came out of nowhere, and he's just like the ultimate just like guy. But
I mean, I'll tell you this much: no disrespect to Odin or his fans, but when I saw him get pretty much swatted like a fly by Roger, I kind of smiled at that
that's what I'm
because,
saying. See, you did say that. See, you did feel the same way on some level.
well, no, I was mainly it was mainly for me because I definitely believe that Odin wasn't some invincible character like. So seeing Roger do that made me feel relieved simply because it meant that the fan base could no longer claim that, oh, Odin is, you know, a god, when we see Roger pretty much just swing his blade and send him flying. Like, I liked seeing that because it pretty much would put that whole idea to rest. Um, Not, you know, not that there's anything wrong with fans feeling that way, of course. Um, but
Yeah, I
uh,
feel you. So I guess even with all that, you do bring up good points, but I probably still give his character a 5 or 6 for me personally. Um, because I mean a lot of that stuff happened before his flashback, and him overall as a flashback character, he had a lot of hype to him. He had so much hype to where that's probably why we felt a little disappointed, but he wasn't like a bad character, and a 5 or 6 isn't exactly a horrible score. It just kind of means kind of like average, for the most part, and that's just me personally. But
so if he was to show up again in another flashback and we saw more of him, would you potentially change your score?
yeah, it just
I'm
a lot.
sorry, what?
Yeah, I definitely would. It just was, yeah, it just like a lot of this character was kind of not shown to us because we know who he is as a
Yeah,
person and stuff, but yeah, definitely. Like if
I
we definitely,
agree with why you feel that way. But
yeah. So yeah, peace, like, subscribe, holla. Stay tuned for the next one.